Well, hello to you guys, Lisa is here as always. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to Russia. Today we're here to listen the full story of Lisa with Love, because I just realized that I've been doing this channel for more than a year and right now it's my full-time job, and I never did a video about my previous life, about why did I leave Russia, why did I come back here, what happened to me previously, and who is this girl, who is Lisa with Love. Because most probably you started to watch my channel when I was already here living in Russia, but I have such a long, amazing and a little bit dramatic story of my previous life, the life before this channel actually started. If you will scroll down to find my first ever video of this channel, you will find that I started this channel when I used to live in city country of Macau. Then I did some travel vlogs from Bali, Vietnam and Malaysia. So I used to live in several different countries, and usually people say that I'm younger than I am, but I'm actually plus 30 years old. I will not tell you exactly my age, but you know, I have some life experiences behind my back. So where did it all started? I was born in Vladivostok in the far east region of Russia. I used to live there with my mom and we have a small family. I don't have any siblings, any brothers or sisters, and my father passed away very long time ago. So I was raised in a small family where my mom did everything. It was a single mom family. I think it's very important to mention the family conditions because it really affects your future life. And from the beginning, I realized when I was a teenager, I think that everything depends on you, because we were not rich. No one is going to help me, like no one's going to give me a car or give me a flat. So when you are from the family with really average income, not a poor but not rich, you kind of realize that everything just depends on you and you need to work to achieve something. During my teenager years, I was really independent. I didn't want to listen to anyone, and like I didn't think a lot about what I want to do in my future. I only realized that during my university years. In university years, I slowly started to find my way. I always knew that I'm a creative person who likes to create ideas. And no matter in what material, in university, yes, I created clothes. It's ideas that made of fabrics, but right now I can call myself a video designer because the system is almost the same. You just have an idea in your head and you use the materials and you bring your creation to the world. I never traveled outside of Russia up until my university age. Actually, my first ever country was China, but because it's just so easy for us to travel to China from Vladivostok by bus. So my second country I ever visited was Japan. In university, I think it was grade 4, they sent us for 2 weeks to Yokohama College. It's close to Tokyo, and it was like a student exchange. It was absolutely amazing. I was always interested about Asia, and after that trip I was like so inspired. So after that trip, I think I started to have this idea that I maybe want to move abroad. My first idea was that I wanted to move to Japan because I just loved how beautiful and how cute everything is there, and I really like Japanese fashion culture, and I even started to learn Japanese language. It was happening during my last years in university and I was like, all right, how we can go to Japan? Probably the easiest and obvious way is to get a student visa and to go there and study in a language school, right? But I was like, I don't have money. We need a lot of money to do that. In the final couple of years of my university, I felt a real burnout because I was trying to work on the side and I was trying to get this degree. In one point, I almost dropped from university, but I was like, this is too hard, I cannot do it. But then my mom kind of pushed me to do so because I was like, okay, it's just better to get a degree no matter what, because this education was really long. It was like 6 years, 6 full years, and a lot of jobs. So in the end, I really felt a burnout, and for a big period I just was like, didn't want to do it anymore. I always wanted to do something creative, but I was burned out from doing clothes, I think. If I would wanted to build a career in fashion in Russia and become a designer, I would probably needed to move to Moscow, because Vladivostok is not a fashion place. We don't have big fashion brands there. They all located in Moscow. The industry is here, the all job opportunities located here. But I didn't want to move to Moscow because I didn't like it back then. I never even thought about that I will be living here. And at the same time, I was giving up with my life in Vladivostok because, as I told you, I was a bit burned out. I didn't know what to do next. And I started to have thoughts that I need to do something different, and maybe that I need to go somewhere abroad to another country. Chapter number 2: How I moved to China. Back then, I had a friend who worked in the modeling industry, and she kind of inspired me to try modeling job. I always knew that I will never become a high fashion model because my height is just not enough for my face. And I was like younger. I was 22 years old. So I was like, okay, we can try to do that in Asia, because Asian agencies, they accept girls with a lower height. My height is 171 and a half, so it's just enough to do some jobs, and I have an okay face for the modeling industry. They always told me that I have a very difficult face, like a strong face, and to work as a model you need to have classical face with this kind of height. You can have a strong face, but you gotta be like very tall, 175 centimeters and more, to do high fashion and runway shows, for example. After graduating from university, I gave myself a break of a few months because I just needed a rest, and then I found completely different job, not in the fashion industry. My first ever job was working in a restaurant. I was making food, not like a proper cook, but we have ingredients and I have to make a dish out of them. I started really low, guys. I remember my salary was really low as well. It was like 300 US dollars. I don't remember, their currency rate was really different, but it was 25,000 rubles, and I have to work very long shifts, and I sometimes work 5.5 days and I only had 1 day off. With such a low salary of just few hundred US dollars, I was trying to save as much money as possible to move out from Russia. After months and months working in a restaurant and trying to save money and trying to find big opportunities and just dreaming about traveling and living a happy life, actually nobody offered me a good contract in the modeling agency. I was like, all right, what if we will try to do that by ourselves? And back then I have a couple of people who lived in Shanghai, China. And I was like, okay, fun. China is great fun. It's just few hours away from Vladivostok, because back then we had a direct flight from Vladivostok to Shanghai. It was not difficult to open Chinese visa. China was so welcoming and fun. And I was like, all right, we're not going to Japan, but it was still on my mind to go to Japan. But I was like, what if we go to China first, earn some money in China, and after that we will go to Japan. I just realized how brave I was back then. So I found an opportunity to go and check out the Shanghai, China. I found the people, they were opening a co-working space for Russian people in Shanghai. It was like their project. So they were welcoming some people who will help them to work for the project, and a free living space for a month or 2 or 3 in Shanghai. So I was like, wow, what an amazing opportunity. Like, okay, what I need to do is just buy a flight ticket and go and stay with those people for a few months, and then I will see from there what I'm doing. And I did that. I flew to Shanghai. I was shook. I was like impressed. I was like, I don't want to go back to Russia anymore. I was so inspired by how life can be and how just everything is so exciting. And when I stayed there in the first few months, I started to explore another opportunities. I started to find modeling agents and other people with who I can work with. From there, what happened was, when I was in Shanghai, I found my first ever modeling agency. It was small, but they offered me my first ever kind of job. And from then, I started to find more and more freelance agents with who I can work. Modeling in China is a bit different from what we used to imagine as a high fashion modeling job. You know, they have jobs where they just want to hire foreign people who look like me, for example, to just present something, stay and pose with a car, commercials, videos, presentations, some events, some runway shows. I traveled in China to the places where you cannot imagine, guys, because for the shooting job, when they shoot some videos or movies, they can take you to some remote location, to the villages, to the movie studios. And I had a lot of jobs where we played as an extra in Chinese movies. I think being in Chinese movies and seeing how the film industry works behind the scene, and especially being in China, I think it was just the most interesting experience of my life, because yeah, they work hard. Sometimes they would call you up, start working at 4 a.m. in the morning, and filming up until 12 a.m. next day. The most interesting project, I remember one time we filmed in Pudong airport. I was a cabin crew girl. It was such a hard day, guys, so bad. And another amazing project we did, it was we filmed on a cruise ship. We went from Shanghai to Japan, and from Japan to Shanghai twice. We were filming a crazy Chinese TV series there, and we just played as foreign passengers on a cruise ship. That was sick because we enjoyed the cruise ship with everything included, and we play passengers in a Chinese TV series. What a cool job was that! I used to stay in China like that for several years, but I used to go back to Russia very frequently, staying there for a few weeks or a few months and come back to China. And from China, from Shanghai, I also traveled to another countries in Southeast Asia. I went to Vietnam, I went to Thailand, I went to South Korea, to Hong Kong, and yeah, it was really amazing. Welcome to the chapter number 3, Malaysia. How did I end up in a different country? Back then, I had a friend. She was staying in Kuala Lumpur, the capital of the beautiful country of Malaysia, and I just decided to travel there and to meet her. And I honestly like Malaysia a lot too, so I was going to stay there for 1, 2, 3 weeks, whatever. And it happened to me that in almost my last week of staying there, I end up meeting a boyfriend. But he was not a Malaysian, he was not even from Asia, he was from the UK. We ended up hanging around for a couple of months. We went to Thailand together for vacation. We came back to Kuala Lumpur, and then we decided that we're going to stay in Malaysia for longer. We decided that I will open a student visa in Malaysia because our tourist visa is short. For Russian passport it's only 30 days, so I end up getting a student language course visa. What language did I learn, you can ask me, and it was not English. I studied Chinese language. You know that Malaysia is a very interesting country. They have 4 languages easily spoken around there. It's English, it's Malay, it's Indian, Hindu, or how do you call their language, and Chinese, because like a third population in Malaysia, they are Chinese. So I had course in language school in Kuala Lumpur. I had Chinese teacher. It was really interesting. I really like personally Chinese language because I like how it sounds. I like China, and it was just interesting to learn. But for me it's hard to speak Chinese, but we learn everything like grammar, writing, speaking, everything, and characters. And in the end of the course, I reached the level of HSK2. After a while, it was decided that we needed to separate for a while. My boyfriend back then, he moved back to the UK for his business reasons, and I went back to Russia, to Vladivostok, to stay with my mom and just back to my home base, and we were deciding what we're doing next. Of course, one way is to get the UK visa for me to go to the UK, but it's not that easy to do, you know. Even in Vladivostok, we don't have an UK embassy. It's all in Moscow. I mean, it's possible to do that, but just need a lot of paperwork and a big money for these visa expenses and traveling. I think if he would wanted this more than he did, we would do this process with the UK visa, but I think he didn't want this much, so I was really wanted to follow him and go to UK and meet him again, but we end up in a situation of long distance relationship where everything is not clear, and I had to decide everything for myself, what I'm doing next. And I was thinking like, okay, I don't want to start my life in Vladivostok. I don't want to stay here because I already used to live outside. I used to live abroad. So I was like, I know China. I know that I have people there. I know that I can find job there in Shanghai. So it might be a good idea to go back to China and to see what's going next from there. This is chapter number 4. Welcome, an epic reunion with China. And so what happened to me was, when I was in Russia, I did find a job in Shanghai. I didn't want to come back to the entertainment and modeling industry because the job there is just not stable. You know, 1 month you can earn a big money, next month you can have just one single job, and you can never predict how job is going to be. So I wanted to find a job that would be more stable, and I found a job in Shanghai in an art training center. So my next job in China was an art teacher. I really liked that job actually because it was in a good location. It was located in a good shopping mall. I like my schedule and I like the tasks that I needed to do. It was not like a high-end drawing university type of thing. It was just more about having fun with kids and teaching them how to do crafts with colored paper, or how to mix colors, or how to say colors in English, and very simple and fun things like that. This is a part of the story where things got really crazy, so get ready for that. So I started to work there. I really liked the place. I was dreaming about my happy life in China and my new happy adventure, but coronavirus came. I started to work there and my working visa was in a process, and they told us, probably we're not going to open the school for at least 6 months, so you can do whatever you like to do. And they didn't even pay me for like the months that I worked there. I remember they paid me a half, and then they still owe me a money for the last few weeks that I worked there, and then they never opened after that. What a shame. And it was an art school, so there was no chance that they would do these lessons online. And parents went to them and they asked the return of money that they paid. So the school was in a critical financial situation, so they had to close down basically. I remember staying there in China when things were crazy in Wuhan. The Shanghai was empty. And back then, during that time when I didn't have a job and I was staying in an empty Shanghai, I started to continue my first YouTube channel. And I remember I did a few viral videos about virus in China, empty streets of Shanghai. That was another epic, crazy time that I will remember until the rest of my life, because we didn't have a full lockdown in Shanghai. I was able to go outside, but no one was outside going around, and it was impossible to meet another person. So I was sitting alone there in my small room, and I went outside to see how epic it is. I was avoiding all the people like that, but I will never forget the empty Shanghai when it's usually thousands and millions people in there. It lasted for at least 3 months, and after that everything started to open again. Because China closed the borders, no one can get outside and inside without big strict quarantine. So from then I need to decide like what I'm doing. I decided that I need to stay in China, and I believed that China will solve it somehow. And I just prayed that I can stay in China and just find another job, because I already spent money to move to China, and in 1.5 months you want me to go back to Russia to do what? I was really lost. I didn't know what to do. So I decided to just hope and pray so I can find another job and stay there. And while I was doing it, I was still keep in touch with my boyfriend from the UK, and things got really crazy in the UK. So I decided that it would be safer for me to stay in China. And after 3 months of waiting, I found another job. I found my next job, and it was English teaching in a small language training center. I was never going to be an English teacher, but I was just stuck in China, and it just was one job opportunity that I can do. As you might understand, when I was in China, things got really crazy outside. We were quite fine there. Life was as normal as usual, but I just couldn't travel outside. And we were keep in touch with my boyfriend, and you can guess that because of that crazy situation, we couldn't meet each other never again. He couldn't come to China to visit me as we planned. Yes, we planned that, but I cannot get outside of China because I knew that I wouldn't be able to come back to China. So we kind of separated in the end because it was just too long. We were long distance for more than a year. We were keep in touch in a really good relationship. We called each other a lot, but we never met each other again, which is really sad. After a while of working in English training center in Shanghai, I was researching for other opportunities as well, and one day I found a job in Macau. It's a special autonomous region of China, same as Hong Kong, which I also wanted to move one day. I like Hong Kong city, and I wanted to go there and work there too, but it's hard to get visa in Hong Kong. So I found this opportunity to work in Macau, and they were able to process visa for me. Actually, it was really lucky. After Shanghai, I went straight to Macau because no one can come to Macau because of these very strict coronavirus rules. They couldn't hire any teachers from abroad to Macau because no one can come in, only with very big quarantine. So they needed a teacher in Macau, and they hired me because it was really easy for me to come from mainland China to Macau without quarantine. In Macau, I worked in very nice kindergarten. It was like a very high-end privileged kindergarten for rich people in Macau. I remember it very clearly how I left Shanghai. The world is the middle of the mess. I went to Shenzhen, stayed there for a few days. Then I went to Zhuhai by train, and I crossed the border from Zhuhai to Macau. Macau is like a separate country. You have to cross border between them, and the visa and currency and banking system are a bit different, but it's like still China, but you have to still cross the border like it's a different country. I would say it was a happy life in Macau, very special because again, it was in the middle of crazy pandemic. The Macau was half empty because I remember it very crowded, where everybody from mainland China traveled to Macau, and it's just overcrowded city. But back then it was like really calm, and we could live there, and all the fancy hotels in Macau, they were with a huge discount. So I stayed even in Parisian hotel, the hotel with a big Eiffel Tower with a huge discount, you know, but there was nothing to do. Macau is just a small town with 600,000 people. Macau is a small like a country of a size of the town, and there is nothing much to do other than going to the fancy casinos, staying in the fancy hotels, going around. It's very beautiful. I really enjoyed my time in Macau, but it was just very difficult because we couldn't travel outside of Macau because of strict rules, and no one can come to Macau as well. We were just really separated from other world. We couldn't even go to Hong Kong, which is really close, like 1 hour by bus. So it was difficult to stay there because it was continuing for a really long time, and my job in kindergarten was pretty demanding as well. You know, I have to take care of 15 small kids. Yes, and write a constant report, always be in touch with local parents of my kids. Arrive to work very early. We start work at 8 a.m. You have to be there ready to meet those little angels. You have to stay calm no matter what. If like 5 kids are crying at the same time, you have to deal with it. It was all happening under the big stress of lockdown, because if they would find one coronavirus, they would test the entire city of Macau, and they would close the kindergarten first because they would protect children. And it was just mentally hard and tiring, especially they would not give us a big nice vacation to go somewhere and just have a proper rest. I think if it wouldn't be in the middle of pandemic, it would be really fun, because Macau is such a great location. You can go to China, you can go to Hong Kong, you can go outside wherever you want. Really nice for traveling. I still cannot believe that I was able to stay in Macau for such long period of time. I worked there in kindergarten, I think for 1 year and 2 months. I still really glad for this amazing opportunity, because it was just unique to live in such an interesting place, not without big hardships though. You know, during that period we finally really separated with an ex-boyfriend who was in a long distant relationship. It was a big drama for me that added something to my mental health. And after Macau, I decided that I want to go to Bali and experience this amazing place in Indonesia. As I already mentioned in the beginning of this video, that I started this channel when I was there staying in Macau. And this is chapter number 5, Bali. Overall, I stayed in Bali for half a year. I think it was like 5 or 6 months in total. It was as well amazing experience. So after working as a teacher in China for 2 full years, or it was even more than 2 years, I don't remember, without proper holidays, I just needed a rest, and then I went to Bali, and then I had an amazing vacation there. And also I started to work on this channel. I started to do travel vlogs, as well as I was trying to do another activities that I wanted to try. Also, I work a little bit for online Chinese language school as well, teaching Chinese kids English. But I was not working there for a long time because it just was not making a lot of money to like continue in doing that. And at the time, the special military operation happened, and it added something to my mental health as well, because it was just really hard to handle this all, guys. It was pretty stressful, because like I remember myself meeting other foreigners, and then they would ask me like, oh, where are you from? I say, oh, I'm from Russia. And I was like, because of that, we started to have problems with banks. Sanctions started to happen to us, and I was like, the world in a mess. Like, I just escaped one mess, and now we are in a different mess. At one point, they canceled Russian airplanes to flying around, and then it became more difficult to come back to Russia from Asia, because China was also still closed. So the only one way to return for me from Bali to Vladivostok, It was actually fly around to Dubai and then to Moscow and then back to Vladivostok. That was like crazy. And then I was staying for so long outside of Russia that my Sberbank card was expired, my Russian phone was expired, and then after sanctions, they start to block all the banks, so I couldn't withdraw money from the YouTube that I was making because I didn't have even like bank accounts. But my YouTube AdSense was always registered in Russia, so it accepted only Russian bank accounts. My YouTube channel just got monetized back then and it started to make a few dollars, but overall I didn't know what to do. I was kind of tired. I needed to find another job to continue like living in Asia or to do something else. And after that, I went to Vietnam to try Vietnam as well. I found a job in Vietnam, but I decided that Vietnam is not my country to stay there for a contract for 1 or 2 years. At that time, I haven't been at home for a whole 3 years. 3 years is the longest time I've been away from Russia. 3 years I haven't seen my mom. What a crazy experience, guys. And I was there outside of Russia just by myself. All of these small details, they added something to my mental health, and in one point I think it just had a breakdown when I started to have a panic attacks, and it was really scary because I couldn't seek help over there, and I didn't know like who can even help me. With all of those little details, I decided that 3 years is actually enough, that I actually better would come back to Russia. I would deal with all of my issues there. I needed to just have a calm life, have a rest for a few months, that I need to go to a doctor who can help me. I need to visit my family. I need to eat my comfort food, just to have a normal life where I don't need to go somewhere. I don't need to move countries. I don't need to like deal with bureaucracies and visas, and just stay at home for a few months and see what I will be doing next. This is how I decided not to stay in Vietnam and just return back home. I went to South Korea and I took a ferry to come to Vladivostok. It was really crazy adventure as well, and I have a vlog from that trip in my channel. If you will scroll down, you can find it. And this is how I moved back to Russia after my crazy Asian adventures, and since then it's been already 1.5 years. Time flies very fast. Honestly, I can tell you that I did not expect myself moving back to Russia. I expected to stay in Russia for a few months, maybe get back my life together, get my like mental health together, and go somewhere else again, because I just like to travel. I like to live abroad. I like this lifestyle. And when I returned back home in Vladivostok, I realized like, oh, like Russia is cool as well. I kind of like it there. I liked how comfortable it is too. I realized that in 3 years, Russia has changed as well in a nice way, in that in Russia you can have a very comfortable life too. In Vladivostok, I started to do this channel that you are watching right now. I set up myself a goal that no matter what, like I have a little savings with me. I will do this channel without having an income. I will not try to find another job. I will just try upload videos for at least 2 months, and let's see what's going to happen. In a few months my channel grew and a few thousand of people. I think I had like 6,000 subscribers when I arrived to Russia, and then I saw that videos from Russia are getting some views too, and I decided that I need to continue my YouTube channel, especially when some people join me as my sponsor who subscribe to the sponsorship program, and I saw the opportunity that I really can make a living out of it, and I can make YouTube as my main job. After my channel grew for a little bit, I decided to travel to Moscow and see how life is in the capital right now. It was 1 year ago in 2023, and I was really surprised that I like it here a lot, and then I realized that it's a very high-end city where you can have amazing and comfortable lifestyle, not worse than in places where I used to live, such as like Shanghai or Macau. I was like, okay, then if I don't want to go abroad anymore, what if we just move to Moscow? Because Moscow feels similar to being abroad but still being in Russia. I'm doing YouTube and our community here grew up to more than 50,000 subscribers, guys. I did not expect that. I did not expect that my plan will be successful. I was really sure that when I will go back to Russia, I will have to find another job or start something new from the scratch. But people join me here on my adventure, and I really appreciate you guys. And after all, we are here and you watching this video, and this is absolutely crazy, guys. So you guys, it was such a long video, I guess. I think it's more like a podcast type of thing. I hope it was really interesting for you to learn more about Lisa the Russian. Thank you so much, guys, for your awesome support. If you want to learn more about me, I welcome you to watch previous videos on my channel because I have a lot of them. And if you really like what I'm doing, you can consider to become sponsor of Patreon or subscribing to YouTube sponsorship program. Also, I have an amazing news that my merch is in a process of being created. I'm launching my merch soon, hopefully. So you guys, thank you so much for staying with me up until the very end of this video, and I will see you very soon in my next one. Bye bye.